hang in there. I'm going to see if I can make it through the show this morning. As you can tell, my voice is just hanging on by a thread. But it's just one of those things. Yeah, yesterday was interesting. I mean, the amount of assets that Denver gave up for Russell Wilson and the contract they ended up subsequently giving him could be probably the worst decision in the history of the NFL.
Oh, what about Herschel Walker?
I think this
Herschel Walker trade was really bad, man.
I know, but I take a look at this, and you see the amount of money that Denver ended up having to pay, and now how that money is coming home to roost. True. To the point where it's going to negatively impact their salary cap. And now what is Sean Payton doing? Look, that was oil and water. It was a mistake by the Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson never got on to the same page. They were awful 2 years ago. I thought Russell actually played reasonably well underneath Sean Payton, but when that image of Sean Payton just going after Russell Wilson and Russell Wilson meekly walking away told me all I needed to know about that relationship. Yeah,
it felt like it was over at that point. And yeah, I mean, with the money in the contract, you're probably right. I mean, there's been some bad ones. I mean, like the Ricky Williams trading of the entire draft by Mike Ditka to go up and get Ricky Williams, and he put on the dreads and did an interview because he was so happy Ditka was that they got Ricky Williams. I mean, I think that was another one, but it's the money because they have like over $80 million of dead cap money that's spread out over the next 2 years that they have to deal with. And I think it's something like half and half.
So the point being is that they need to draft a young quarterback.
Yeah.
And they need to restart that part of the process while paying 2 years of somebody else's contract.
Yeah, and where they are in the draft isn't exactly perfect for them to be able to do that. They're not in the top 3 picks.
No.
Where you could easily take one of those top 3 guys that everybody believes will go top 3. So, yeah, they are in an interesting spot. And do they end up trading away more assets to be able to draft up and get that guy? That is the reverberations of this are going to echo with the Broncos organization for a number of years.
But, this is what Sean Payton inherited.
Yeah.
And, he knew what he was stepping into. They're paying him a lot of money. So he's going to have to figure it out, whether it be trading up for J.J. McCarthy, who seems to be like rising up everybody's board now.
Yeah, I mean.
It's like he's the Zach Wilson of this year. But I think, when you look at his record and you look at overall the way that he carries himself, what he sounds like when he's interviewed, I can see why guys are smitten by him.
Yeah, and I think yes, he's coming out of nowhere in the sense of the draft board like Zach Wilson did, but it's for different reasons. Zach Wilson at his pro day had that throw that everybody was so wowed by, the off-platform, down the field, 80 yards, whatever it was. And it's not like J.J. McCarthy has wowed people and got everybody shocked by his athletic ability. I mean, I think it's the fact that he threw well. They liked talking to him. Jim Harbaugh gave a huge stamp of approval. He won a national championship. I think it has a lot to do with that. And also what you talk about all the time at combines, it's not so much, when you ask these questions, what the answers are or the measurables a lot of the time. It has to do with how much do they love the game of football? How much are they going to be dedicated? How much work are they going to put into it? And I think that J.J. McCarthy is one of those guys that you don't have to worry about at all in that regard.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any of these top quarterbacks that I would put into that category.
That you have to worry about?
Where I would have to worry about them. I feel like they all are committed to the game. They all love the game. Look, some of these guys have played 5 and 6 years in college.
Yeah.
Simply because, they love the play. They've transferred teams. They've overcome injury. I mean, there's so many of those guys that have that part of the story, I think, covered. Now it really comes down to who do you feel comfortable with. And one of the guys, believe it or not, that is linked to the Giants is this J.J. McCarthy because, he fits the mold.
And when you do air quotes for our radio audience that can't see it, fits the mold meaning what?
Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, kind of understated, definitely a leader, but just not somebody who is going to be, out there, like Baker Mayfield was when he was in Cleveland.
Okay.
He's not going to be doing a million commercials. He's not going to be doing all of that stuff. He's not going to embarrass the franchise. And, this is why people were thinking, the Giants have a lot of interest in J.J. McCarthy. So the question is, do they do it at number 6, or do they trade out of there, get up another couple assets, and still have enough room to be able to pick them up somewhere in the top 15 if that's the case? I mean, we're like right now in the silly season when it comes to all this.
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things I'll throw out, silly season things I'll throw out there. So, Rich Eisen, by the way, Marconi award-winning Rich Eisen, he threw out there that the Giants are absolutely done with Daniel Jones, 100% done, buyer's remorse on the contract and all of those things. And then I hear Mike Tannenbaum, who I don't even know if I could believe anymore with some of the stuff he was throwing out there, like the Jets are going to have Russell Wilson as a backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers. But he said that he would be surprised if J.J. McCarthy got past pick number 5 in the first round. So those are two silly season things that I heard yesterday. But the Giants, I mean, and we have talked about this now for months, but it really does make too much sense for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. You got to get your guy. You have to. If you're really going to go down with an injury-prone, inconsistent Daniel Jones when this was your opportunity to rebuild the Giants, you're nuts.
Here's the one thing that I worry about. Brian Daboll has a certain offense that he and Mike Kafka run. That offense is it requires a quarterback that is going to be able to run. And is J.J. McCarthy fit the Giant offense, or will they fit the offense around the player? They should fit the offense around the player. That's the way it always should be. It should never be the other way around. But, if you had your druthers, the guy that, if he puts on about 15 pounds to run this offense would be Jaden McDaniels.
Jaden Daniels. Yeah, for sure.
Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and he has to, as you said, he was 205, which is not a great frame for a guy like that. Yeah, I mean, that would be, so when you say, fits the mold of the Giant quarterback, that's more from what John Mara has put out there and what the organization has put out there. As far as fits the mold for the Brian Daboll Giants, I don't know if J.J. McCarthy is.
That's what I'm saying.
The guy.
You see these highlights from Jaden Daniels, you're like, holy God, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, right.
But he also is really, really skinny. And that's why he's got to grow up. He's got to mature. And look, if they're moving on from Daniel Jones, it doesn't mean that they'll move on from him this year. They may draft somebody and make them sit behind Daniel Jones.
Well, they're going to have to, because unless Daniel Jones is hurt again or terrible, and that's probably the smartest thing to do, because you're going to have to, you get out of the contract after this coming season. You're going to have to pay him this year and have him on the roster this year. So it probably, and you give Daniel Jones an opportunity to play well, and essentially what's another walk year for him, his second in 3 years. But that's that's probably the smartest thing to do. And then maybe get the rookie in the back end of the season, like you got Patrick Mahomes in with the Chiefs, and do the Kansas City model.
Yeah, and I think most people think that in the NFL, wherever Kirk Cousins decides to go, that's when everything will start to fall into place.
That is true. So he's going to be a huge domino. He's another guy, though, coming off a major injury. Not as old as Aaron Rodgers, but he's still coming off an Achilles. He's not a guy that has run around a lot in his career, so you expect him to be able to rehab and do the things he has been doing. But, I could have sworn that Justin Fields was the quarterback for the Falcons. After I saw that Instagram post from his manager, and Justin Fields is jumping up and down, and a guy in the background goes, "I hope you're ready to go home." I'm like, well, he's going to the Falcons. But now you got this Mike Florio situation where it says that Kirk Cousins and his family are now going to the Falcons.
Who knows?
What the hell?
Who absolutely knows? I still think that Justin Fields to the Raiders makes the most sense just because of the offense.
Yeah. And so Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson now. Now, Russell Wilson's one of those guys that I could see, like, is a team going to just jump on him? Because it's so cheap. You're not going to have to pay him anything, because he's getting guaranteed money from the Broncos either way. And any money that a team pays him will be offset for the Broncos. So they could very easily, a team could come in and pay him legitimately the veterans minimum, and Russell Wilson is not going to care because he's going to get 30-something million guaranteed.
Right, but why would Russell Wilson want to become a part of the Jets?
No, he would. No, God, no.
With Nathaniel Hackett.
No.
Well, I know what you said Mike Tannenbaum said.
Yeah, I know, which was the dumbest thing in the world. That's
okay,
why.
Well, it's a process. You got to go through this process. You know
no,
that.
It was the dumbest thing. That's why I said, I prefaced it by saying I can't take what Mike Tannenbaum says seriously anymore after he brought that Russell Wilson thing up to about backing up Aaron Rodgers. Because, I mean, there were people that walked off the set, apparently, when he said that, because it was so crazy. But yeah, I don't know if there's like what is the league view on Russell Wilson right now? I mean, he left Seattle, and Pete Carroll and that team seemed to be thrilled to beat him because things were going south with the locker room and Russell Wilson. And even back when they were winning, didn't seem like anybody liked him. He goes into Denver. The Nathaniel Hackett thing's a disaster. Sean Payton screams him out of town, so much so they're going to have $80 million in dead cap just to get him off the roster. I mean, is this guy radioactive?
Yes.
Or is someone else going to be like, hey, he's gone through it. He got smacked down a little bit. He's going to be more inspired than ever to come back and rehab his career and put together more of a Hall of Fame resume. Like, now's the time to buy low on Russell Wilson. I don't know.
What team? I mean, you got to think maybe Minnesota. No, you can't. Minnesota.
No, that GM wants a young quarterback.
Zach Wilson's going there.
No, he's not.
Yeah, I think
they're going to draft. They're going to draft a young quarterback.
Well, and you think they're going to start the season with a young quarterback with Justin Jefferson getting $30 million a year?
Maybe
they need somebody that's got to get him the ball, knows how to get him the ball, and is ready to play right now.
It's not Zach Wilson.
Well, I think Russell Wilson, Zach Wilson, and I don't know. I'm just trying to think who they would draft. Maybe Michael Penix.
Yeah, maybe McCarthy. I don't know. Maybe Bonet. I have no idea. I don't know what they're doing out there. I mean, I thought there was a chance that they would sign Kirk Cousins to a 2-year deal, draft one of these guys as a project, and let him sit there. But I don't know.
The one thing I will say is that out of all these quarterbacks that are going to go, and it's, let's say, the top first 2 rounds, like, which quarterback has the best opportunity to go someplace to be like a C.J. Stroud, be an actual impact player his first year? And, that requires a stable coaching staff. That requires a good offensive line, a good solid running game, a decent defense. Can you name a team that does not have a quarterback that meets all those requirements? Or are we going to deal with, 5 out of the 6 that are going to go in the top 2 rounds are going to be flameouts just because of where they're being drafted and how they're being handled?
Well, I mean, not to just talk about my football team, but tell me if you disagree. That team's got weapons, they've got an offense, and they had a defense that was turned around by Brian Flores last year that ended up being a top 15 defense. So that's the spot. When you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and a defense that was 50 times better than it was the year before.
Well, we're assuming that they're going to sign Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, that's the whole reason why I think they're going this route. Well, not the whole reason. A big part of the reason why they're going this route with Kirk Cousins.
That better be signed soon, because the tag today is the last day of the tag.
That is correct. Yep. But he's not in the he could play on this. It's not like he's going to become a free agent if they tag him.
He could play. They picked up his 5th-year option.
Right. So this is when these guys get paid now.
Supposedly.
Like Jalen Hurts. Well, you told me that you can't have these stars going into that last year. It's a big problem.
Well, it was interesting because the Bengals had that with T. Higgins, and he was a 2nd-round draft choice.
Yeah, but T. Higgins, different situation. Like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson now is the biggest name on that team. You know? Yep. So it's like you can't be messing around, D'ing around in the drive-thru, like you say with Justin Jefferson.
You're right.
You gotta be all over this now, especially if you're saying that we're not going to pay Kirk Cousins $30-40 million a year. We're going to let him go, sign somewhere else, draft a young quarterback. A big reason why you're doing that is because you got to pay the wide receiver. So, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I see some of these takes where they're like, oh, Justin Jefferson's going to ask for a trade if Kirk Cousins, goes somewhere else. Really?
Can't ban both.
Right. I mean, the reason why he's going to get the money is because they're going to go with a younger quarterback. So, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what that team does, because you want to talk about a situation like maybe that is a good place for a J.J. McCarthy, something that there's already a foundation there. Like you saw the 49ers' best roster in football, Brock Purdy steps in and is able to, take them to a Super Bowl. So, and almost win a Super Bowl. So it depends the situation that you're in sometimes. Now, I don't know how many calls do we take? What if Zach Wilson with a 49ers quarterback and Brock Purdy with a Jets quarterback? Yes. I don't know. Probably wouldn't work out that great for Brock Purdy.
But that's my point when it comes down to where these guys are selected and what are they stepping into, and is there an opportunity for them to be successful early?
That is correct.